Hey everybody, welcome to Camel City Chat. I am here with David P. Barksdale.
The P is important.
Chairman?
No.
CEO? President? What?
Yeah, a couple things,
Yeah.
but not chairman.
Yeah, so.
A couple other things.
Well, CEO, you run it. And you got a bunch of wonderful, wonderful people you work with.
That run it.
Right.
I just kind of work with them and support them.
Right, yeah. So you are at Piedmont Federal. We are looking out,
It is.
I didn't paint this today, but it is kind of interesting that a bank you used to work at's right over there. So
I look at it every day.
yeah. So I mean, first of all, thank you for doing this, and we have several mutual friends. Adam Andrews is how you and I kind of finally got together.
It is.
But you do work with Milton, and I'm sorry for you about that. Anything you want to say publicly about him, right? No, you don't have to.
Not publicly.
Not
no.
publicly. Yeah. And
When
of
we
course,
go off the air.
Yeah. So and I got a letter from you recently.
Yes.
So I bank, 3 different places, and I've always wanted to do business with you all, and it turned out that it was time for me to do something with my CQ arm loan.
Yeah.
And you guys had something going, and
Good.
I went to school with Shanita at Winston-Salem
Yep,
State.
absolutely, yeah.
And then Donna Neal calls and goes, "You got to get a HELOC," and
There we
just
go.
wonderful. And then
They're good
Roseanne.
folks.
Oh my gosh! And so you have wonderful, wonderful people here.
We do.
And so it got us
do.
here today.
We do.
All right.
Thank
You ready?
I am.
Just, I know you're all dressed up and stuff, but we're going to talk barbecue.
That's good. Oh, yeah.
I got a 14 spice rub I found online. Oh, my
Oh, that's
God.
good
We're going to
stuff.
talk.
Yes.
So here we go. Number 1. Where are you from and how long have you been here, sir?
I'm from Jamestown, North Carolina, just right down the street. I'm a product of the Triad. I've been in Winston-Salem since 1999, and I've been at Piedmont Federal Savings Bank since September of 2019. So 2.5 coming up on 3 years at Piedmont Federal.
So did you replace Robert?
I replaced Mike Hooser was the interim CEO who took Rick Wagner's place.
Okay.
Who took Nick Mitchell's place.
So
Nick
Robert Sanders wasn't?
Robert Sanders was here. He was not the CEO here.
not CEO,
He was
okay.
in our deposit area and was one of the senior executives here. But
Because everybody knew Robert as Mr.
Robert.
Piedmont Federal.
That's right.
So
Rick Wagner was here.
Rick Wagner,
okay. He retired, and Mike Hooser served as the interim while they found me.
The search was on.
While I wandered into the back door when
And
they weren't looking.
you were never in banking before this, I noticed from your LinkedIn profile.
I know it.
Holy cow, it's like
Crazy.
LSB, and then I wrote them all down.
Bankers kind of move around a little bit, man.
So you graduate from, I just don't even want to say the school, but go ahead. No, I'm just kidding. So you graduated from Wake.
Did graduate from Wake.
1986.
I did.
We are close in age. I graduated from Bishop McGinnis in 1986.
Outstanding.
I, of course, went and got an education at the finest institution in the state at 3,333 feet above sea level, Appalachian State. You knew that already.
A very fine institution. I did.
And
then got your master's here, though, right?
At Winston-Salem State.
Yes.
Yep. But what's funny is in 79 when Wake went to the Tangerine Bowl, huge Wake Forest fan, Landon King, now a doctor at Johns Hopkins, intercepts against Carolina with a broken hand in the end zone, went down to watch LSU kill him at the Tangerine Bowl. Jay Venuta, all that stuff.
And see, I wasn't a Wake fan then. I was pulling for Chapel Hill at the time because I
Right.
grew up a Chapel Hill fan and didn't become a Wake fan until I stepped foot
It's
on
hard,
campus.
isn't it? I was on, we used to yell for, cheer for first downs at Wake Forest football.
Yeah, you had to.
Yep. And then
I came through some lean years.
Yeah. And then of course, then you guys get Makovic.
Yep.
And all that stuff. And so who was coaching when you were there? Do you remember?
Coach, when I was there, Dooley was there. Groh was there, and then when Groh left, Dooley came in.
Okay.
And then, being a fan, and my wife was 2 years behind me, I ended up spanning several generations. But Dooley was the guy when I was there.
Right. And it was just,
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
That was what you do. Appalachian straight up the middle. So, but it's cool that to know that you were here around the same time of going to Wake, and what a great institution, and they're still doing. I just got called for tickets and all this kind of stuff for football. That every year our institutions, like Winston-Salem State and Wake and App. It's just steamrolling towards. If people goes back and see what Wake was like when you were in school, it's nuts.
It is. I was with someone this weekend. He said, "Yeah, my daughter applied to Wake. Beautiful campus and this." He was talking about all these buildings. none of which were there when I was there.
I couldn't get into Appalachian right now.
I couldn't get into Wake.
Oh, I don't know about that, but it is funny though because I went to basketball camp there, and when I was a kid, and it still has some of the similar feeling. When you go to Appalachian now, there's so many changes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you graduate from App, and then what do you do?
Graduate from Wake, and then
Wake. Thanks.
And then
Tried to get it in there.
I jump into banking right after that.
So you went straight to there?
No, I went to United Carolina Bank, a little bank down in Whiteville, North Carolina, which is now part of BB&T, part of Truist.
Okay.
I left there before the merger, but went down to Whiteville. Had to pull out a map to figure out where Whiteville was. Went down there. It was actually a great career move for me because there was nothing to do in Whiteville. So you pretty much immersed yourself into work. And so went to work there. Came back, worked in Raleigh for a few months, went back to Whiteville to work for another couple of years, and then back to Raleigh all through United Carolina Bank, and then went to work for First Citizens there in Raleigh, great spot, which is what took me to Winston actually. Was First Citizens. The other spot I worked, right beyond Lexington State Bank, is the Piedmont Plaza building where First Citizens used to have an office. Worked there, got out of banking for a little while, raised money for Wake. Beggar in a three-piece suit, king of the $100 gift at the college fund, and then got back into banking at LSB.
Right. And then where were you when you got this call?
I, through our banking moving arounds that we talked about, ended up in Charlotte helping to lead a bank there for 3 years from 2015 through the end of 2017. Ended up selling that bank to what is now First Bank, and accepted a job with First Reliance, a bank out of Florence, South Carolina, who would bid on us, but were opening a loan production office here, or a satellite office. So I joined them. Great organization. I still talk to their CEO quite frequently, and the call came, hey, would you like to talk to us about Piedmont Federal? And headquartered in Winston-Salem, 100 plus years old. It's a mutual, so it can't be bought. I've been through some mergers. It was just, a perfect opportunity to come and say, I can ride out the rest of my career. Should be able to, as long as I don't step on a landmine. I can ride out the rest of my career here at Piedmont Federal.
It checked all the boxes, didn't it?
It checked all of them, and then when I got here, it checked a few more I didn't even know existed.
Yeah,
It's a great organization, not because of me, but because of the 100-year history that the folks here before me built, and it just has been great.
It's, the interactions with you, you're exactly who I expected you to be. David, is telling me about the piece of, he built you something?
Yes.
Yeah, and so, it's like, all these different things, you just invest in this community of yourself, and now you're working with one of the banks that really invests in our community.
David Dahlholt was our first commercial loan customer.
Really?
Took his picture. We've got a history wall out here, and it's not been updated for several years through the pandemic, but we're excited to hang his picture at some point as our first commercial loan customer when we got into commercial lending.
Yeah, because he was telling us about that. It was kind of you guys walked through it together.
We did.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to guinea pig this thing. Help us out. It's not going to be smooth, but help us figure out where the kinks are.
Right.
And a great customer.
And I would say that's part of your management style is that I've picked up on it is you're not afraid to make changes, but you also want to utilize not only the people, the customers that can get you to that, and your real estate programs. You had something going here for a little while of where, hey, bring me some new money and I'll give you a better interest rate than you're getting anywhere else.
That's right.
And all that stuff. So we got all that talked to. I went way too long on the where you're from and all that because I want people just to know you and like you like I do because we've had some real cool interactions. But now, what's your favorite place to eat? It doesn't have to be a customer, but yeah, you might want to.
Well, it helps.
Yeah,
I'll tell you my favorite place to eat is downtown Winston-Salem.
Okay.
It's because I don't have a favorite. I bounce around. I'm a barbecue person. Camel City Barbecue does a great job. I love a Cuban sandwich. Mojito does a great job. My wife likes Italian food. Chiba does a great job. We moved downtown a couple years ago to kind of do the downsize thing. We actually probably own a little bit more square footage than we used to own even when we were in the suburbs, but love being downtown. And I think our downtown restaurant scene is so good. And while I enjoy a fine meal with candles and a nice cloth napkin, I enjoy food trucks and going out, eating outside at Mojito or going to Camel City Barbecue and getting a big old plate of pork or beef or whatever they happen to be serving, whatever I'm in the mood for that day. I just like our downtown restaurants. We have got a lot going on and more stuff, more stuff on the way. Finnegan's reopening.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that. God, I can't wait for that to happen.
I got to get Brian on the show. We had
Crafted reopening under a new name.
Yeah, so it's going to be Twisted Pine, and Adam's going to be doing
Twisted Pine.
Yeah,
okay,
so
great.
Twisted Pine Catering is the name of his company. I've been in it. They actually have the metal sign up that said Twisted Pine. Sorry, Adam, if I'm not supposed to say that. He was nice enough to let us break that's what that was going to be on Camel City Chat, and then I'm texting like Mike over at the paper and going, hey, you might want to watch this, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of neat.
He does good work, so I'm looking forward to that. That was one of our favorite spots. We hated to see it close, and now that he's coming back, it's going to be great. Yeah,
we were down at STEM and earlier today, and we're talking about Second and Green, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, Kimberly, it really sucks for you with all these apartments just coming around the bar. And she's just like going, I know it's so horrible, John. It's so, but I mean, that place nothing was around Second and Green, and now they're building even more apartments.
I know it. It is, the downtown living, I think, is really starting to take off. And there are apartments going up right outside our place at Oak Street. Yeah. I can't remember, 350-ish units. More on the way. We're getting to where the critical mass is happening, where the golden nugget of a grocery store will eventually get downtown. We're making do now, but eventually we'll have a loan. That's right. Yeah. Eventually we'll get a grocery store downtown, but we like down there, and we like all the things that all the restaurateurs are doing. So it's hard to narrow it down to one spot.
Well, I want to ask you one more question. We're going to take a quick break, and then we might as well go ahead and dive into downtown, because the food. Desert of our downtown in the sense of things, and then also your belief and Piedmont Federal's belief in our downtown.
Absolutely.
So, what's your favorite thing to do?
I'm not a huge hobby guy. I'm a runner. I would say my favorite thing to do is to hit all the breweries in downtown. Now, that would be redundant. We go to the farm. We go to the mountains of North Carolina. My in-laws have a place up there, and to go up there and spend time, we got one of the best views in the state. Look out over the mountain range of Mount Mitchell. We don't see Mitchell, but look over the range, CeeLo Mountain and some of the others, and sit out there on the back porch and have a cold beverage and smoke a cigar with Jennifer and talk about solve life's problems.
Right.
That's where I'm in my best spot.
Understand? Cool. Well, let's take a quick break. We're going to be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm here with the CEO of Piedmont Federal. How long have you? It's 100 years now?
119.
119 years. David Barksdale is with us.
I hadn't been here that long.
Yeah, no.
Looks like it, but I haven't.
No. Nice try. So, 119 years, and obviously, so what year does that make that? Because
1903.
1903. So this is pre-Winston-Salem merging.
It is pre-Winston-Salem. Yes.
Yep. So, was Piedmont Federal in Winston or in Salem?
In Winston.
So with the drunks, because they were Winston was determined. Salem was the peaceful, calm town.
That's right.
Winston was the rebellious.
If you're going to open a bank, go there.
Yeah, go there. Right. Bring it in. And so close to the bars. So you've had a presence in downtown for all those years.
We have.
Right. So now you're not at. Are you still at the Gold Building? Is that still there?
We're not in the.
You're not there.
Not in the Gold Building. We have moved. The Gold Building was a beautiful building, I'm sure. I've
been in it
in its day.
Yep.
And as have I. That was our headquarters. We built this in the early 2000s. This building's 12-ish years old or so, and moved here as our headquarters. Still had a branch there up until early this year, up until early 2022. The opportunity came along working with Mayfair and Simon Burgess. We were supposed to go across the street when they were building another hotel, and Marshall Park was going to go in. That COVID hit, all of that got put on delay. They were building and renovating the old Automotive Associates Twin City Motor Building on Liberty Street, right next to Camel City Barbecue, now called the Roar Building.
Right.
And I knew that was coming up, and they said, hey, we're delayed here. Would you entertain another location? I said, absolutely, knowing where their other location was. And they said, well, we've got this spot on Liberty Street. Yeah, I know it.
In the back door.
And so I said, this makes great sense. And so we're in about 1,100 square feet, not a big traditional branch. We have a teller pod, a conference room, and otherwise open seating. But we're right there with the food hall, the golf simulators, the duck pin bowling, 30 taps on each of the 3 floors, rooftop, restaurants.
Why are we not at that branch? I mean, this is pretty.
That's my Friday branch. Today's
Okay.
Wednesday. We have
All
to be
right.
filming on a Wednesday, and I got to wear a tie. So Friday, you go to that branch and you work out of the conference room.
And you
there.
can walk out the door and you can walk in the back door, the old policeman's bar of Camel City if they know you're coming, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I haven't pulled that trick yet, but yes.
Oh no,
But we're
I think you can pull it. I'm looking. You can't see my office from here. I'm further down that way.
You're a little further down.
Yeah.
We're right there beside Camel City on the second floor, which
Right.
is street level on Liberty. And again, it's our commitment to downtown. We
Right.
like downtown. We've been downtown literally since we started, and it just made sense. And to be on that northern end of town, I can walk to work if I'm going to work in that office, to be around the restaurants, the bars, the entertainment. It just made a lot of sense.
Now you have kids.
I do. I have 2 daughters.
All right, and they're at home still, or they're out?
Yes, they are.
Right. Yeah.
I've got one that just graduated from Chapel Hill
Okay.
and is a nursing graduate, and she's got a job, and she's going to be a nurse in Washington, D.C., in Georgetown, at the Georgetown
wow.
Hospital,
Okay.
in the mother-baby unit. And then I've got my oldest daughter is a 4th-year med student at Wake Forest, and so she lives above us in the condo. I have a downtown condo. She's above us. My mother was beside us. She's now passed away, so my other daughter will move in there temporarily until she goes to D.C. So 2 daughters in the medical field. I'm a banker. My wife's a CPA. Glad they're in medicine, but don't know why they're not adding numbers. We felt like they ought to add numbers, but they're going to fix bones and help old people, I hope.
You know, what failures? You know, what failures?
They're good girls. They take after their mother, thank goodness.
Yeah, that's always good. Everyone always tells me, your daughter's beautiful. I'm like, yep, looks after her
Yes,
just like her
that's
mom.
right. Got the genes from the mother.
Yeah. So Piedmont Federal, about a month ago, was it that I saw? You guys hit some number. Was it about a month ago?
About a month ago.
And I can't say that number. That's a big number for me. What
It's
is
a big
that?
number. Banks judge themselves, measure themselves in asset size
Right.
versus revenue or employees, something like that. And we hit $1 billion in assets. Billion's a big number. Some of the teammates here remember the retired folks when we hit $1 million, and we'd
Right.
say thanks $1 million. Well, now it's thanks $1 billion. It's a big number. We don't look or operate any differently today than we did in early March when we weren't $1 billion.
Right.
It's shooting par on a golf course. It's a bowling in 300 score. It's running a 4-minute mile. I can do none of those things, but it's just a mark. Again, it kind of proves your relevance. It proves your growth strategy. Only 20% of the banks in the United States are above $1 billion, so it kind of puts you in that upper echelon of size. We're not trying to get big just to be big. It's not growth for growth's sake, but scale does matter because it's expensive to deliver digital banking. It's expensive to deliver all these fintech apps that you may not want, but your kids won't, and their kids certainly won't. And keeping up with the technology costs and the compliance costs is expensive. And if you've got scale, it makes it a little more doable.
So, what was it when you got here? Now I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you know what it was?
940 million.
Okay.
We were supposed to hit it our goal was to hit it at the end of 2023. So our goal was 1 billion by 23, 123.
Right.
And we hit it in March of 2022.
So none of this stuff would be like things of like the fine people that you have that if you come in and you open an account, you suddenly get a handwritten note from them, from the teller that you deal with, or the president of the bank personally signs a letter to you, or none of that stuff. You're customer centric, client-centric. That it wouldn't have anything to do with that, right?
No, it's not it.
Where does that come from?
Hey, we've had, as a mutual, we're owned by our depositors. So our customers own us. And our customers demand good service, as they should. And we have had a storied history, John, of providing outstanding customer service. And that's not me. That's just, I'm the beneficiary of coming into an organization that had that going on. And that's what it's about. And it's table stakes. You got to have great service. I think that we go above and beyond. I mean, we call our teammates customer care associates. One of our values here is build caring relationships. We care about our customers. We care about their financial well-being, but we also care about their physical well-being and their emotional well-being, which is why you'll get a customer care associate ask you, well, how's your wife doing? How's your leg? I heard you'd injured your leg. They care about our customers and about our communities, whether they're a customer or not. And I think that's a huge value that got ingrained in us in 1903 when the gentlemen that founded this organization got together and founded it. Is they said, we're going to be about caring for each other. And that's what they've done.
You know, it is interesting because it was funny because I had come in here and, called Shanita and was checking around and have had a long history with Ruth Hudspeth at Fairway.
Yeah,
and,
I know Ruth. She's a
love Ruth.
Wonderful banker.
And, she's always like, well, if I can't do something, then talk to Rebecca.
Talk to Rebecca May.
And so, so I'm like talking to them and, she's like, well, you should work with Shanita. And I'm like talking to Shanita and it's like, well, John, if you do this, you got this, you can also do this. And then it's like, and then I come in and is it Jean Ann or Ruth Ann? Because I always get confused downstairs.
Jean Ann.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I said Ruth Ann earlier, but my wife had a friend named Ruth Ann. So Jean Ann, who when we walk in, I wave at, all the time and stuff, she's like, well, have you thought about doing this? I'm like, are you serious? And so the next thing you know, I'm like showing up and doing something else. I mean, it's not only is it the personal touch, but it's also the, hey, by the way, I got something else that you might want to be interested in. And you either are or you aren't.
And it is. And we try to not give you a product just to give you a product. It's not a do you want fries with that. It's a, hey, we think based on your profile, based on what you've done with us so far, this may be a good fit for you.
Right.
And if it's a good fit, and you feel it's a good fit, great. If it's not, fine. We'll move on. But that's what it's about. It's not just, we try not to be product pushers, we try to be solution providers. And maybe that's a nuance, but I think it's an important nuance.
Yeah, and I mean, and with the changes of the banking atmosphere in Winston-Salem.
Holy smokes.
With someone leaving, and now it's you and True Liant that are, the banks here that are the larger banks, and your move to commercial really pushed you guys up, which is
what took us to $1 billion.
Right.
Maintaining our mortgage presence, which we've always been a mortgage bank, we'll always be a mortgage bank.
Right.
Is our bread and butter, is our foundation. Adding the commercial gave us that final bit of booster fuel to get us to $1 billion.
Well, and what's funny too is now as a realtor, as a listing agent, I really don't like it when you're coming in with a Piedmont. I know the money's good, but I don't like that old first-time home buyer program where it'd be like, oh, well, you got to fix this, this, and this, or else they can't get the loan. But as a buyer's agent, it's it's great. You're taking care of my buyers, so it's
right.
It's that 6 of one, half dozen of another thing. I mean, you knew it was good paper if someone comes in with a Piedmont pre-approval letter.
It is. It is good paper, and the first-time home buyer program continues to be one that we tweak, and we can dive more into that. It's important that we help with our housing situation in Winston, and first-time, and I would say second-time and third-time home buyer program is just as important as first-time, because there's some folks that got dinged in the Great Recession and got in houses they shouldn't have been in, and they may have some dinged credit. And so that second-time home buyer is equally important as the first-time home buyer.
So as we're sitting here, and my phone just rang, right? So I'm like, oh, well, the break, we'll check it. And the reason why is I've got a buyer that went in on a property that was listed for $299. They're an all-cash buyer. They're putting down like $20,000 of due diligence. They're putting down $320, I think, on the place. And I don't know if they're going to get it.
That's right.
And so what do you do?
Crazy market out
Yeah,
there.
what do you do? And we've one of my teammates, Lee, had someone buy 4 investment properties, and they put, to make sure they got them, they put on a $40,000 investment property. There were 4 of them. They put $45,000 due diligence on all 4 of them, and it's like, who does that?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The
And
housing
so, I mean, we're
market's
having
crazy.
yeah. And so what that does, though, is, and this is something that I'm really looking forward to talking to you about, because I have several friends that I've interviewed over the years, like Senator Paul Lowe and stuff like that. It's I say this, and everyone always kind of gives me the dirty look, but what was it? There was a Chief Justice that said, pornography, I know it when I see it. Affordable housing is the same definition.
Yeah.
No one can define affordable housing. What is affordable housing? Is it a percentage of what you make at minimum wage? Is it a percentage of this? No one can do that, and we've got to get the great minds in the room, and that's something that we're going to talk about in the next segment. You guys are starting to, figure out to try and help solve or get the ball rolling on that. Okay.
Sure.
So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Camel City Chat and David Barksdale. Welcome back to Camel City Chat, and honestly, I wish we were recording during the break. I'm John McPherson. I'm here with David Barksdale, and we're talking about affordable housing. I was telling you, I've had Nigel Olson on, I've had John Bost on, I've had Senator Lowe on, the mayor, and as we're talking about all this, with affordable housing, we've got to get some either angel investors involved, or we've got to do something. Like, for instance, I know that there's a development coming in Wilkesboro soon, and their goal is to build in Wilkesboro more affordable housing. They're like 600 or 800 units behind in Wilkesboro. I mean, and I don't know what we're behind here. You may even know that figure, but
It's above 10,000 of
Right.
affordable housing units that we're behind.
and maybe they're before, maybe they're below, maybe they're higher than what the number I'm saying is. But it's a problem.
It is.
So we can't define it, but you were saying in the break that there are numbers that come out, and you can do a a slice of this and a half round of this or whatever, and you come up with some chicken wire, and that gets us to the number that we need to know.
Right.
But how do we solve affordable housing is not a question that you know the answer to, but you might. But the more important question is, how is Piedmont Federal working to help solve that?
And I won't answer the first question, but I'll give you some insight. It's a multi-pronged approach. I don't think there's a program that's going to solve affordable housing. I think it's got to be a menu of programs to help solve it. And it's going to involve government, it's going to involve the building industry, it's going to involve real estate, it's going to involve banks, it's going to involve CDCs like S.G. Atkins Community Development Corporation.
Right.
It's going to have several people at the table to solve it. What we're doing is, we are in the house financing business, so we need to understand that. And we're doing a couple things. We are working with S.G. Atkins. They have purchased some lots around Forsyth Seafood. Virginia Hardesty is on our board.
Right.
That is the owner and proprietor of Forsyth Seafood. There are some lots back in that area that S.G. Atkins is working on to buy, take down the house if it's an old dilapidated house, and come back in with affordable housing. Meaning that someone making a working wage in Winston-Salem, a family of 4, can afford to live there, can buy it and afford to live there. Meaning, do they have down payment assistance? Because they're not going to have 20% to plop down on it. And if it gets into a competitive bid, you're in real estate, people are putting 50% down, 100% cash offer. Well, a first-time home buyer can't do that. We've got to give an avenue for that first-time or second-time home buyer to be able to win and not be competing against a deep pocket investor. Nothing wrong with deep pocket investors, but there's got to be a way that first and second-time home buyer, an affordable home buyer, can win as well. So we're working with S.G. Atkins. We're working with the Do School, Jerry Anderson. Jerry is partnering with Habitat for Humanity. He takes these young men and women who may have a felony conviction in their past, tough to find work, tough to find a place to go, teaches them construction. So he buys a house through grants, also working with the Winston-Salem Foundation and with Piedmont Federal. He then teaches these young men and young women who need a leg up, teaches them construction. In the meantime, he's rehabbing a house which will ultimately be affordable housing. Now that's one house at a time. but it's one house at a time.
Right.
So we're working with them on one now. He's got a lot beside it or a house beside it that he'd like to do next. And the other piece is working with, and we've been doing some work with Craig Richardson at the Center for the Studies of Economic Mobility, CCM, housed at Winston-Salem State.
He's been on our show.
Craig is brilliant,
Yep.
and I was going to say, if he hadn't been on your show, he should.
No, Craig's actually, I went to China with Craig. Craig is my college professor at Winston-Salem State,
He is
who then
great.
got me teaching at Winston-Salem State for a little while.
He is great. And trying to figure out small dollar mortgages. And I believe that's one area that we can help. Our mortgage bankers, unlike most mortgage bankers, are salaried, not commissioned. So they're going to make the same salary whether they work on a $100,000 loan or an $800,000 loan. Well, if you're commissioned, you're going to work on an $800,000 loan because
Right.
it's probably less work than a $100,000 loan, and you're going to get a big check. Whereas our teammates, our mortgage bankers, are salaried, and they, because of our values and our purpose of opening doors, they are incented, if you will, to work on those smaller dollar loans, which are typically your affordable housing loans. And we've got to get money into the hands of people to buy houses to live in, not as investment properties that are cash buyers. Nothing wrong with that, but it just has a way of if you look at the census tracts of where we have low to moderate income residents, and I hate that term, so I'll call it emerging wealth, but or wealth that's on the rise, but they're low to moderate now. And you look at how many renters there are, overwhelming renters versus homeowners versus some of the other census tracts. We got to spin that somehow, and the way to do it, one way to do it, like I said, it's going to be multi-pronged. One way to do it is helping with these small dollar mortgages. And Craig is a brilliant man that's helping us with that.
Right.
We hadn't figured out the secret sauce yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah, no, he encouraged you to go back, and we talked about it because, that's where I heard the worst statement I've ever heard, and that's if you're born in Forsyth County poor, you're going to die in Forsyth County poor, and we've got to change that. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? I mean, it is amazing.
Economic
on a
mobility.
national level, we are like bottom of the barrel for Forsyth County.
We are down.
And
we shouldn't be.
No, we
got
shouldn't.
too many great things going for us. We're a city of innovation and arts. We've got institutions of higher education here. We've got a solid school system. I mean, we've got so many great things going for us. We can't be at the bottom in economic mobility.
No, because, and what bothers me is, I mean, I can pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, this is going on, and you're going to, well, John's not going to bring me junk. I mean, this has got to be something serious. And I mean, there's all those relationships out there, and I don't understand why some of it's not always tapped and that type
We
of
got to all get around the table, and it's got to be a big table.
Yeah.
And figure out various ways. And some of that's down payment assistance, some of that's small dollar mortgage, some of that is investors willing to make 1% on their money,
Right.
To put into a pool to provide affordable housing. I think it takes a lot of different approaches and some creative thinking to get there, John.
Mm-hmm. And so, what else does Piedmont Federal do charity-wise? I mean, obviously that's not an official charity. That's something you're investing in your community. But I mean, you guys, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's it.
You guys, not really on the books anywhere. You don't do anything, right?
That's right. That's right. Don't tell Ginger Soft that.
Yeah.
She does a great job. Crosby Scholars. We're doing a whole lot with Crosby Scholars.
And
right
that just
now.
happened, didn't it?
Well, we just re-upped. They did a capital campaign. We just stepped in that. Ginger Salt, our Chief Experience Officer, who helps oversee much of our community involvement, is currently the chair of that board.
Okay.
And, Crosby Scholars is doing a lot to help access, to help young men and young women who need access. It's not just for just college prep. It's really, before we made the capital commitment, I said, I need to understand their programs a little bit more.
Right.
And we took a deeper dive. A great program to help those. We do some work with senior services and the work that they've got going on there. Milton Kern, you mentioned Milton. Milton has done a lot of work with Second Harvest Food
Huge,
Bank.
yeah.
There's so many great causes, and we could give away 4 times the amount that we do, and I don't say give away, invest.
Right.
We could do that times 4. At the end, we've got to also return some to our members and our customers, but we try, because we're a mutual, and it's not just about return on equity, just about what is my dividend.
Right.
We can give back to the community, as many great organizations in this city do. We're not the only one.
Right.
But there are a lot of great causes, and thank goodness Ginger helps marshal those forces and keep us focused on them.
You're around a couple places.
We're around a couple places.
Yeah, but she can freak out that I said that to her.
We're around. And not only is it investing our money, but it's investing our time and volunteering. We just got back from an Earth Day event. Ginger was just at a multicultural event last weekend. The rest of us were at the Dash game. We had a teammate outing at the Dash game.
You were somewhere else this week on your own personal volunteer?
I was on a personal volunteer, do some Boy Scout work. We do. It's important. It's part of our value system.
All right, so let's talk about something here. Now, this is important.
Go.
All right, I'm gonna pull up the table here. What makes the perfect barbecue rub?
The perfect barbecue rub.
This is like right behind the meaning of life for you, isn't it?
It is.
Barbecue rub.
It is. I was at a tailgate this past weekend for Paul McCartney, and we were, my tailgate partner and I were cooking pork butts and chicken wings, smoking them, and he had done a lot of the work on the pork butt. But another banker, Stan Kelly, came by, and we were talking, and he said, and so I'm glad to know you're a banker, David, and so this, meaning pointing to the barbecue, is your hobby. And I said, well, I like to think of banking as my hobby, and this is what I do.
My side gig pays for this.
So, you know, I may be a better barbecuer than I am a banker, and I'm not saying I'm a good banker.
How big's your smoker?
I've got an egg, so it's
right.
about that big.
Have you got the XL or the regular?
I got the regular, the large.
Okay, so I've got the egg.
And it's perfect at home.
Right.
John Milliken, I was on a competition barbecue team with John Milliken of Salem Group and Jay Luke of Freeman Commercial. And so we formed a competition barbecue team after our daughters graduated from Indian Princesses, Adventure Guides. Right. It's gone through several names. Right. So when they graduated, we formed a competition barbecue team. So John has got a vault smoker, indirect offset smoker that will smoke. I've had 12 butts on there at a time before, so that's a lot of meat. Mm-hmm. We've had 26 to 30 racks of ribs on there at a time. So it's a pretty good sized smoker. Then we've got an assassin smoker. Both of those are mounted on a trailer that we pull to the games. Jay Luke is now on barrel smokers. He's had Shirley's. He's had gravity feds. He goes through smokers like I go through dress shirts.
Right.
And so, you know, it's not about the size of the smoker necessarily, but it's about, you know, you mentioned the rub. For a long time, we made our own rubs, we make our own injection, we make our own sauce for the ribs. There's so many great commercial rubs out there right now, though.
I used to make my own beer, and then it's like, why waste the time doing it when I can go buy a 6-pack of something?
Ace Hardware, the redone Ace Hardware, yep. is a meat smoker's paradise.
Right.
And, you know, a good rub has got, in my opinion, has got a mixture of sweet and a little bit of heat. So you got some sugar, some brown sugar in there, some salt because you want to pull some flavors out to the surface, some black pepper, some paprika gives it that good color, some chili powder.
In mind.
And it depends on whether you're smoking ribs, whether you're smoking pork butt, whether you're smoking pork tenderloin. Brisket scares me. Jay and John handle our brisket.
Yep.
And then we have we do a salt heavy rub plus red pepper flakes on our chicken wings and smoke those for about 2 hours. And then Fletcher's barbecue sauce from Fletcher's Concrete Company has got one of the best they may do concrete on the side, but they do barbecue sauce. Unbelievable.
So
don't tell anybody.
I haven't had lunch yet today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You can head and get some. But
so I found a 14
stuff.
spice rub online, and my niece worked at at one of those spice places.
Oh yeah.
And I gave it to her, and she like put it in and put it together.
Put it together?
But I did it one time, and you know, of course, the worst thing you can ever do in making spice rubs is you got to dry out the brown sugar.
Right.
So you're putting it in the oven and all that stuff. But I'll have to find that recipe and send it to you. But it's just perfect. And then I found another thing that is it's Maker's Mark
Oh yeah.
with a couple things in it, and you burn it off, and I mean, it is the best meat dip I've ever had in my entire life. I could drink it.
Because it's got some sweet to it,
Yep.
and it's a bourbon, so it's
Right.
got a
But
little
you
bit
burn off the
of
alcohol.
bite to it.
Yep.
And it's a great rub. You know, a lot of folks will use beer or some other type of alcohol in at least in their sauce.
Right.
And we've been all over the board, and I like to say I've never had bad barbecue. I've just had some that's better than others. I was in Texas, and they said, come on, we're going to have supper, we're having barbecue. And I pulled a guy aside, I said, no, we're going to have brisket, and that's a wonderful meat, and it's going to be very tasty, but it's just not barbecue.
It's not barbecue. So are you a mustard or vinegar?
Vinegar.
Okay.
However, I'm a Lexington style, so it's vinegar with a little bit of ketchup to take a little bit of bite of the vinegar off of it. That said, I just had Eastern style at the Paul McCartney concert. It was very good. I will make mustard style as well. I've got a pretty good mustard sauce recipe. It's not my go-to, but it's darn good, and especially on chicken. You got a good mustard rub or sauce on chicken, it's not bad. So if we're close enough to South Carolina that I'm vinegar based because we're in North Carolina. But in a tip of the hat to my South Carolina brethren, I'll have some mustard every now and then.
Cool. Well, we're going to take a final break, and then we're going to come back and kind of sum up all of Piedmont Federal things. And I really appreciate you being here, and of course, letting us be here. But I'm starving now, so we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat, and I am here with David Barksdale, and we're finishing up. And I've got 3 questions left for you.
All right.
All right. The first one is, what do you want to be remembered for? I told you I was going to ask you one, and yeah. See, I got you on that one. And it doesn't have to be, at a demise or something, because you said, you hope that this is your last stop in banking. But what do you want to be remembered for?
My personal purpose statement is to leave our campsite better than I found it.
Amen.
Which is coming from my Boy Scout heritage. And so, if I can help teammates that I've interacted with grow and develop, and when I leave, they say, I'm a better banker, I'm a better philanthropist, I'm a better person because I had a little bit of interaction with David along the way, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. So just, it's, the legacy that you leave, I'm a big Mr. Holland's Opus fan, the legacy that you leave is, I think, the impact that you have on others. And if I can leave our campsite better than I found it, I'm okay with that.
I figured that about you, especially when I said that no one cares how much you know quote. You immediately perked up like, oh, I've heard that 1,000 times and probably said it as many too. At Bishop McGinnis, there was a poster of the world, and underneath it says, "A needy world awaits your imprint. Come make a difference."
Yeah.
And of course then there was the hang in there cat too. But
the Chief Scout was just in Dallas for a National Scout meeting, and the Chief Scout executive, the head paid guy for all the scouts, was there, and he gave us a challenge coin, and the challenge was to make a difference in a young man or young woman's life, which is what scouting is about. Mm-hmm. And to what you said at Bishop McGinnis, I mean, just make a difference in somebody else's life. And if we can all do that, in the world we're living in now, with the shootings yesterday in Texas, with the recent shootings in Buffalo, we're in a big need of more of that make a difference in somebody's life.
Just give somebody a hug. I mean,
holy smokes, man!
It's so sad of all the things, how many times have you been at a grocery store and you see and you're like looking to see if someone's struggling? It's like, do I need to help or stuff like that? And you want to make a difference, but you also don't want to intrude on someone too.
That's right, and it's a tough line.
What is that social capital and stuff that, because we've been talking about a whole bunch of things. What's our investment in our community? What you had kind of talked about that as being something before we summed up that you might want to talk about. So, as a mutual founded here before Winston-Salem was Winston-Salem, our organization, it is part of our fabric that we give back to the community and help make the community a better spot. And I think we all have that charge. I mean, service is the rent we pay for living here. And we're working on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts so that people can show up with their whole selves at work. We can appreciate our differences. We can seek out
we have a whole lot more in common than we do in differences, but there are differences that make a difference. Well, let's seek those out, and because if we are different, then that'll allow us, I told you we need a whole lot of people at the table to solve affordable housing. It's because you get different perspectives. We need to seek that out. That's the social investment that we have to make.
I watched a series, I don't know if you're familiar with, obviously, Morgan Spurlock, right?
Right.
And he did the Super Size Me. Well, he did a thing called 30 Days. And one of the ones that made the biggest impression on me was he and his wife moved to a small town, froze their credit cards in case they absolutely needed them, went and found minimum wage jobs, and tried to live on minimum wage for 30 days. And he fell at work and had to go to the emergency room because he didn't have insurance because of this. And by the end of the month, they were down $400 or $500.
Yeah.
And we just don't think about that.
It's expensive to be poor.
Yeah. We do not think about that. And I appreciate how you guys are trying to make it an experience that people don't have to have anymore.
And we do it one customer at a time.
Right.
And there's not some sweeping program that's going to come down here and save all of us and make this economic mobility solved overnight.
Right.
It's a lot of agencies, a lot of people working on it across the spectrum. And we just live, we're very fortunate in Winston-Salem. We have so many great things going for us. But as we point out, we got so many things that we need to do. And if we got a lot of smart people here, not me, but we got a lot of smart people here. And I think that we can all do our part to make this even a better spot. And we need that. Golly dog, I think the world needs that.
Well, you've been here for a while, and you're going to be here for a while.
I hope so.
So where Winston-Salem was to where it is now, and I often talk about on the podcast, we used to deliver magazines downtown and stuff, and bowling alley at 4:30.
Tumbleweeds blowing across.
So, you live downtown now, which if I told you in 1986 you're going to live downtown Winston, you would have not believed me.
That's correct.
So what else do you want to see downtown? What are some dreams or things that you're wanting to have happen?
When I was at Wake, to your point, in the mid and late 80s, we'd go downtown. And you really just didn't go downtown, right? Maybe you had a social function at
Bocock Stroud.
Bocock Stroud. You had a social function at one of the hotels down there, but that was about it. But downtown has come so far with the restaurants, with the breweries, with the retail space. John Cooper of Mass General Store is on our board as well, to see Mass and some of those stores come down there. I love to see an amphitheater down there. I'm a huge Ramcat fan. I'm a huge live music fan. We're sponsoring the Summer Shindig with them. Robert O'Keefe coming up in a couple weeks.
That's big.
That's huge. That was one of my dreams, to get him on his farewell tour, and we're sponsoring that tour, or that stop here at Ramcat. I love live music. I love to see an amphitheater somewhere downtown. I think that would be really neat, kind of like a Red Hat. I don't think it needs to be that big in Raleigh, so we can see some outdoor music, some other outdoor play venues. I know we got the dog park, brewery coming, kind of a little more northeast of where we are. We need a grocery store downtown. We're getting critical mass, though. We mentioned all the apartments going up. There's a lot of critical mass coming downtown, and we just need to keep growing. My daughter, who was at Chapel Hill, brought some of her friends downtown Winston, and some of them have been in some other downtown cities in and around the Triad and the rest of North Carolina. They are all bullish on Winston-Salem, like, oh, Winston-Salem is great. You can get around. You can go from one end of Winston to the other end of Winston in the downtown district and feel safe, and you can do it in a stroll versus, oh, I'll never make it from one end of City X to the other end of City X. We've got such a great downtown, and it can only get better as we get more innovative and think creatively. And I bump in a bunch of guys. The Ramcat guys have got their hands. David Dahlholt's got his hands in a lot of cool stuff. The guys at Radar Brewing that have got a lot of good stuff going on downtown. And if we keep it up, and Jason Thiel, I think, is doing a great job with downtown partnership, we can keep that up, there's really no stopping us.
Well, I really appreciate it.
It's all good.
Man,
thank you so much for
being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
This is what a great view. And,
it is. It's fun to look at it. There it is.
Only thing that I had a problem with in your whole interview is smarter than you. You're a pretty darn smart guy.
I don't think so.
You care like crazy, and I appreciate everything you're doing for Piedmont Federal. I'm so glad that we got you over here. And,
Thank you. Great to be here, and great. Thank you for all the stuff you're doing.
Well, we're trying to have fun. You've named a couple people that we need to talk about after this, see if you might be able to get them to be guests. But so I'm sure you're familiar with Jeff Smith with Smitty's Notes.
I am.
So we want to thank him for being there. And
Smitty's a great guy, and he does a great job of promoting
and
this.
25 years ago, he never thought it was going to be this. So I do appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right, all the best.